Being fit to drive a car and managing driving risks. According to projections made by the auto insurance sector, every driver will experience at least 4 collisions or traffic accidents in their lifetime. Every minute of every day, a car collision happens somewhere in the United States, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. These road incidents result in at least 1 fatality every 16 on average. Road safety is greatly influenced by vehicle design, traffic legislation, and highway infrastructure, the construction and upkeep of highways. These 3 jigsaw pieces are always being researched, evaluated, and modified to fit our evolving highway transportation system and increase public safety. The role of the driver is a further component of the jigsaw, though, and it must not be disregarded. In spite of all the efforts made by the federal and state governments to make our roads safer, more than 37,000 people die in traffic accidents in the United States every year. It turns out that the issue is not with how cars are made, with how roads are made, maintained, or with how the rules of the road are written. The system's weak link is the drivers themselves. The decisions you make both before and during driving have an impact on the environment's level of safety. In fact, the majority of incidents and crashes are recognized to be the result of driver mistake. The hazard to themselves and other road users is increased by all drivers, not just obviously reckless ones. Although driving practices include speeding much beyond the posted limit, swerving in and out of lanes of traffic, driving while intoxicated, and other extreme habits frequently result in collisions, such drivers are comparatively uncommon. The unfortunate reality is that the majority of drivers involved in collisions believe they are competent, careful drivers. Knowing traffic regulations and honing your vehicle management techniques are only a small part of your responsibility in maintaining a safe road environment. Our highway transportation system would be a much safer place if every motorist also paid attention to how their choices either enhance or lessen danger. Are you fit to drive? The significance of responding to this question is covered in Part 1 of this curriculum. You must not go behind the wheel if any circumstance, such as ill health, a physical injury, fatigue, emotional distress, or intoxication, makes it impossible for you to drive safely. Driving is a privilege that opens many doors and significantly improves the convenience of our hectic, modern life. Most drivers are ready to overlook mental and physical conditions that would prevent them from being able to operate a vehicle since the thought of being without personal transportation makes them so uncomfortable. Your chances of being in a collision will significantly rise as a result of this error, whether it was intentional or unintentional. Being physically and mentally fit to drive. You are aware of the difficulties that driving might provide as a learner. You have to drive, manage your speed, signal, change gears, and multitask in myriad other ways while continuously scanning and evaluating the road surrounding your car. You can improve your multitasking abilities and become a skilled driver with practice, yet this does not guarantee that you will always be a proficient driver. You might not be able to think properly, sense the road in front of you, use the car's controls, or react swiftly enough to imminent risks if you get sick or hurt. Your ability to drive will be negatively impacted by even a small cold or sprained wrist, which will raise the risk you confront when operating your car. You must develop the ability to recognize these problems when they occur and to honestly evaluate how they will affect you as a driver. The ease of being able to get into your automobile is not worth the increased risk you will face if you are mentally or physically incompetent, as the road is an inherently dangerous area. Avoid driving if uncertain. Permanent or long-term impairments. Fitness to drive is a persistent concern for older persons and people who have chronic health conditions or disabilities. But, it need not be a deal-breaker. Age-related changes in physical capability, eyesight, and cognition must be monitored so that precautions can be taken to ensure your continued safety while operating a vehicle. Regrettably, older people who drive are among the most dangerous. Given the remarkable modifications that can be made to vehicles nowadays, having a medical condition or impairment does not automatically preclude you from operating a vehicle. Nonetheless, it's crucial to be honest about how your symptoms impair your ability to drive, talk to your doctor about the matter, and disclose any pertinent medical issues when you apply for your license. Carbon monoxide poisoning. Every driver needs to be aware of the danger that their car's carbon monoxide emissions represent. Driving an outdated or poorly maintained car may render you ill and unable to operate the vehicle safely. Even today's well-maintained cars can be dangerous if you leave the engine running in an area where the fumes can escape. Although low-level carbon monoxide poisoning is modest, it can have a long-term, catastrophic impact on your health. You might feel disoriented, ill, or even pass out at the wheel if you are exposed to hazardous exhaust fumes for an extended period of time. Driving while physically or mentally fatigued. Every road user in the United States faces a serious problem with driver weariness. Contrary to what many of us would like to think, we are not superhuman, and without enough sleep, our hurried lifestyles may render us incapable of operating a motor vehicle. Find out why and fatigue risk factors. Driving when fatigued is particularly dangerous for young, inexperienced drivers. Driving while fatigued impacts millions of people every day. Fatigue can result from lack of sleep, excessive mental or physical effort, and sickness. Basically, any circumstance that throws off your work-rest balance will result in your body and mind not operating as well as they would under normal circumstances. This may manifest as tiredness, blurred vision, aches and pains, a lack of focus, diminished reasoning capacity, and bad judgment. It should go without saying that trying to drive in these circumstances would be highly risky, but many drivers do it every day. Each year, fatigue driving contributes to thousands of traffic-related fatalities. By working through this section, you will learn how to recognize your own signs of exhaustion and decide whether or not to drive. We also cover crucial coping mechanisms and fatigue avoidance practices that can keep you safe if you start to feel sleepy while driving. Highway hypnosis and velocidation. The perilous state of highway hypnosis can result from fatigued driving. You are more prone to lose conscious connection with the driving task while driving if your cognition is compromised by fatigue. You won't be able to recognize or respond to hazards on the road in this state, and you run the risk of falling asleep behind the wheel. Another occurrence that might happen when a driver is drowsy or not paying enough attention to the task at hand is velocitation. You won't be able to accurately judge your speed when you are experiencing velocitation. As a result, you can unintentionally accelerate past the speed limit or fail to slow down when the road circumstances change. You will learn how to prevent highway hypnosis and velocidation while driving in the final article in this series. Reducing driving risks. Driving involves a lot of risk. Every time you get behind the wheel, you put yourself at danger of becoming hurt or killed in a car accident. You might certainly argue that being outside increases your danger of being struck by lightning, but not all risks are equivalent. Every year, lightning strikes claim the lives of 51 Americans on average, compared to around 37,000 fatalities in car accidents. The degree of risk you run while driving varies based on the conditions on the road at any given moment. Many variables, like the state of the road surface, the state of the weather, and the actions of other road users, all have an impact on risk in each driving situation. Your decisions while driving will either help to reduce danger or raise it, making the road safer for everyone. You will learn how to spot hazards and reduce the risks associated with driving in this section. Responsible attitude. Without having a responsible attitude toward decision-making, it is physically impossible to drive safely. Although you have no control over outside factors like the weather or the amount of traffic on a road, you do have complete control over your own actions. Every choice you make will tilt the balance in one direction or another, making the environment more risky or less dangerous. Which one will you pick? Driving habits that raise the stakes. Adding danger to a driving situation and increasing the likelihood that something unpleasant will happen include tailgating, driving while intoxicated, speeding, texting while driving, and disrupting traffic flow. All of these behaviors must be avoided at all costs, however some are riskier than others. The accidents and collisions that come from these behaviors are entirely avoidable, and each one can be blamed on the driver's poor decision-making alone. Driving practices that increase risk. The odds are against you when you first get your driver's license. Your risk on the road is simply increased by being young and inexperienced. In this part of the video, we go into great detail about this problem. It's critical to be aware of the increased risk you face as a young driver so that you may refrain from performing any excessively risky actions that would raise your likelihood of being in an accident. You run a serious danger of suffering serious injuries or losing your life when driving due to lack of prior driving experience, youthful inexperience, peer pressure, and an inability to properly assess risk. Don't increase the threat by making careless decisions that could easily have been avoided. Creating a safer driving environment. Making the proper decisions can help create a safer environment, just as driving recklessly can increase risk. Maintaining distance around your car, using a seat belt, and driving at a suitable speed for the road conditions are all risk-reducing techniques that all drivers must practice. In Strategies to Reduce Driving Risk, you may learn more about the additional steps you can take to reduce your risk of being involved in a car accident. Repercussions of reckless behavior. While many careless drivers suffer fatal injuries or severe injuries as a result of their reckless driving, these are not the only unfavorable outcomes that might arise from making the incorrect decisions. Even if you manage to escape an event without suffering any severe or fatal injuries, driving recklessly always has negative effects that can be wide-ranging. The final scene of The Driver takes a somber look at the negative financial, physical, mental, and emotional effects of indulging in risky driving conduct. Which kind of motorist will you be? You have all the knowledge necessary to make the best driving decisions thanks to the material presented in this course session. Although the majority of drivers think they are capable, very few actually measure up. You have the power to make driving safer for everyone on the road, including yourself, by being aware of the hazards involved, abstaining from risky conduct, and maintaining a healthy level of fitness. It takes conscious effort every day for the rest of your driving life to decide what kind of driver you want to be. It's not a decision you make once. To drive safely, you must be aware of your tendencies and weaknesses, reflect on your choices, and consider all circumstances carefully before acting. Find out what it means to be fit to drive as we begin your adventure.